Picture this. It's the 1990 World Cup quarter-final Argentina versus Yugoslavia penalty shootout, and millions watching worldwide when suddenly the Argentine goalkeeper squats down on the field and starts peeing right there on the grass in front of everyone. And what happens next will make you believe in the weirdest superstition in football history. Sergio Goycochea wasn't even supposed to be Argentina's starting goalkeeper. He was the backup sitting on the bench watching Neri Pompito play, but then Pompito broke his leg against the Soviet Union and suddenly Goycochea found himself in the World Cup spotlight with Diego Maradona depending on him. The pressure was insane. This was Maradona's team, the defending champions, and now their fate rested in the hands of a goalkeeper who had played exactly 4 international matches before this moment. But Goycochea had a secret weapon that nobody knew about yet. Before that Yugoslavia match, Goycochea desperately needed to use the bathroom, but the referee was about to start the penalty shootout, and he couldn't leave the field. So he did what seemed logical to him. He discreetly relieved himself right there on the goal line, while pretending to adjust his socks. Now here's where it gets crazy. After peeing on the field, Goycochea saved 2 penalties from Yugoslavia, and Argentina advanced to the semi-finals. And in his mind, a connection formed that would change his career forever. The P equaled luck, and he was going to keep doing it. The semi-final against Italy in Naples was even more intense. This was the host nation 90 minutes, then extra time, then penalties. And as Goycochea walked to his goal line, he knew what he had to do. And yes, he squatted down and peed again, while 60,000 Italians watched confused. Roberto Donadoni stepped up for Italy's first penalty, and Goycochea dove to his right and saved it. Then Aldo Serena came for the decisive penalty, and Goycochea saved that too, sending Argentina to the World Cup final. And by now his teammates knew about the ritual and were actively encouraging it. Diego Maradona later said, "When Goyco squatted down, we knew we were safe. It was like his superhero transformation, and the Argentine players would actually form a wall around him to give him privacy while he did his thing," which might be the strangest team bonding moment in sports history. The media started catching on. Italian newspapers wrote headlines like "The Magic Fountain of Goycochea," and TV commentators were trying to explain what he was doing without actually saying it on air, because this was 1990 and you couldn't just say the goalkeeper is urinating on live television. Goycochea became a penalty specialist, saving 4 out of 8 penalties in that World Cup, which is an insane percentage, and every single save came after his ritual, and he wasn't subtle about it anymore. He owned it completely, making it part of his pre-penalty routine. After the World Cup, Goycochea returned to his club Millonarios in Colombia and continued the ritual there too. Opposing players would see him squat and know they were in trouble, and fans started calling him El Mago, the magician. But really, they knew what his magic potion was. The psychological effect was incredible. Penalty takers would watch him do his ritual and get distracted thinking, "Did he just do what I think he did?" And that split second of confusion was often enough to throw off their concentration and give Goycochea the edge he needed. In a 1993 interview, Goycochea explained, "I know it sounds crazy, but it worked the first time, so why change it? In football, we're all superstitious. Some players wear lucky underwear. I just happened to create my own luck right there on the field," and he said it with zero embarrassment. The science behind it might actually make sense. Sports psychologists say that having a ritual, no matter how bizarre, gives athletes a sense of control in chaotic situations, and the physical relief probably helped Goycochea relax, which is crucial for goalkeepers facing penalties. Other goalkeepers started copying him. Bruce Grobbelaar did his wobbly legs. Jerzy Dudek did his dance, but nobody else was brave enough to adopt Goycochea's specific method, although several admitted they were tempted, especially after seeing his success rate. The funniest part is that FIFA actually had to address this, because technically urinating on the field could be considered unsporting behavior, but they couldn't retroactively punish Goycochea for something that helped Argentina reach a World Cup final, so they just pretended it never happened. Years later, at goalkeeper coaching seminars, Goycochea would be invited to speak about penalty psychology, and everyone wanted to know about the ritual. But he'd joke, "I can teach you the diving technique, but the other part you have to figure out yourself," and rooms full of professional coaches would laugh nervously. His wife Patricia once said in an interview, "I watched those matches at home with family, and when he did it the first time, my mother asked, 'What's he doing?' and I had to pretend I didn't know. But after he saved the penalties, we didn't care if he did a full shower routine out there." The Colombian media loved him for bringing this exotic ritual to their league, and Millonarios fans would chant, "Goico, Goico, make it flow," which sounds better in Spanish, but you get the idea. They fully embraced their goalkeeper's unusual method of success. In 1994, Goycochea was back as Argentina's goalkeeper for the World Cup in USA, and everyone wondered if he'd continue the ritual in American stadiums. And yes, he did it against Romania in the round of 16, though this time he was more discreet because American TV cameras were everywhere. The ritual became so famous that sports equipment companies wanted to capitalize on it, but nobody could figure out how to market it appropriately. Adidas considered a Goycochea hydration system advertisement, but their legal department shut it down immediately for obvious reasons. Young goalkeepers in Argentina started copying everything about Goycochea, his diving style, his positioning, and yes, some even tried his ritual in youth matches, leading to awkward conversations between coaches and parents about appropriate behavior on the football field. A sports scientist actually analyzed the patches of grass where Goycochea performed his ritual and claimed the nitrogen in urine could theoretically improve grass growth, so technically he was helping maintain the pitch, which is probably the strangest environmental contribution in football history. In Copa America 1993, Goycochea was added again, this time saving penalties from Brazil and Colombia. And Brazilian media wrote, Argentina's secret weapon is not Maradona, it's Goycochea's bladder, which might be the weirdest compliment ever given to an athlete. The philosophical implications are actually fascinating. Here's a man who discovered that his most embarrassing bodily function could be transformed into his greatest professional asset, turning weakness into strength in the most literal way possible. Goycochea retired with one of the best penalty-saving records in history, and when asked if he had any regrets about the ritual, he said, "My only regret is not drinking more water before matches," which proves he had an incredible sense of humor about the whole thing. Today's goalkeepers are all about sports psychology, visualization techniques, and mental preparation, but none of them have matched Goycochea's World Cup penalty record, which raises the question maybe they're overthinking it when the solution is much simpler. In 2018, when France won the World Cup, Hugo Lloris was asked about pre-penalty rituals, and a journalist jokingly mentioned Goycochea, and Lloris said, "I prefer to keep my preparation more traditional," but you could see him thinking about it for just a second. The statue of Goycochea at River Plate's museum captures him mid-dive saving a penalty, and tourists always ask about his famous ritual, and the tour guides have to explain that no, they couldn't include that particular detail in the bronze sculpture, for obvious reasons. When Emiliano Martinez saved penalties for Argentina in the 2022 World Cup, journalists asked Goycochea for his thoughts, and he said, "Different generation, different methods, but the mental game is the same," carefully avoiding any direct comparison of techniques. The truth is, Goycochea changed football psychology forever by proving that confidence comes from the strangest places, and that sometimes the most bizarre rituals are the most effective because they're so unexpected they become weapons themselves. His autobiography titled My Life Between the Posts dedicates an entire chapter to the ritual called When Nature Calls, and it became a bestseller in Argentina, with readers particularly interested in that specific chapter for obvious reasons. Sports historians now include Goycochea's ritual alongside other famous sporting superstitions, but his remains the most visceral, literally, and it's a reminder that in the high-pressure world of professional sports, whatever works works, even if it means doing something nobody wants to talk about at dinner. The legacy is complicated, because while Goycochea proved that mental strength can come from anywhere, he also created generations of arguments about what's acceptable behavior on a football field and whether success justifies any means necessary, even the wet ones.